Welcome to Cambodia Business Week with your host Anthony Galliano here on Radio 1 FM 103.7.
Good morning, Cambodia. It's 5 minutes after the hour, and welcome to another edition of Cambodia Business Week. Today we have two guests. We have somebody who I'm sure everybody in town knows, has been around a long time. It's about time he came on the show. Laurent Notin from Brains Communication, and we have Roman Grosjean from Jebsen and Jessen. So we'll start in a second. I just want to remind everybody about the Eurocham tax forum coming up, which is on September 21st, which will be opened up by His Excellency Kang Vybal, and the EU ambassador will attend. And what a panel of the top firms in the market. We have Deloitte, we have Grant Thornton, we have DFDL, we just about everybody. We have Cambodian Investment Management. We can't forget that firm, right? So we have all the top firms in the market doing presentations and panel discussions, and a networking event at the Intercontinental after. So get on the Eurocham Cambodia website and register. I think that's going to go fast, right, Laurent?
I would believe so, yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Laurent. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome to the show. I'm really pleased to have you on. We know each other a really long time. We see each other at events all the time. You've done some incredible work in Cambodia on research, and absolutely one of the top advertising agencies in the market as well. So we have a lot to talk about. But first, tell us where you're from.
Thank you. Well, I'm French. Maybe you will discover that with my accent. I've been here in Cambodia for 10 years. I grew up in France, did all my studies in France. Specialized in marketing and sales when I was in France, and I never worked in France actually. I left just right after my studies. We left 17 years ago, first to go to Laos.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So first tell us where you went to school.
So after my what we call the baccalaureate in France, after 18, I went to in France in a city called Poitiers, where I did 5 years, and this is where I did my master in marketing and sales.
You did a master's in marketing.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then did you go on to from there? You went immediately to Laos.
From there, I had to do my military service. Actually,
you did military service.
Yeah, I was the last year of the mandatory military service. I didn't have the choice but to do it.
Right.
And actually, my wife she found a job in Laos, so I didn't have anything, so I just followed her. And initially, we went to Laos for 9 months, and 17 years after, we're still in the region.
Okay, so what year did you go to Laos?
1999. Actually, I landed in Laos on the 2nd of October 1999.
What was it like?
Very well.
I mean, Laos is still sort of a little bit of a an outer land, I guess. What was it like when you were there? We're talking about 17 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, Laos is our second home. It was our first country of expatriation. We had such a great time. It's a beautiful country, beautiful people. It was really great.
All right. So what did you? Your wife had a job, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do in Laos when you arrived?
So when I started, actually, I started after a week. I found a job, and this is how I started in market research.
In Laos.
In Laos, yeah.
Was there a market?
Yeah, there a small market of 6 million people, or 5 million maybe at that time. But yeah, this is how I started in market research, and I did market research for 14 years after that.
How long did you stay in Laos?
Laos, I stayed nearly 7 years.
Okay. Just interesting. You go back to Laos at all?
Not anymore.
All right. Is it easy to do business in Laos?
It's Is it easy to do business in Cambodia?
I mean, because a lot of firms now are looking at being a little bit more international, Mekongish, I guess is best put. And of course, bordering countries are interesting. Thailand's a very competitive and difficult market to enter. It's not easy. Vietnam is also falls in that category. So there's a lot of talk about Laos and Myanmar. So are these something Cambodian companies should look at as a possibility?
There is, yes, sure. It's setting up, I would say, in terms of business environment, Cambodia is definitely easier. For example, it's very easy to open 100% foreign-owned company here,
Right.
which is not the case. Which is not the case in Laos. The other thing about Laos, it's a really small market. It's a market of 6 million people. I think 80% of the population live in rural areas, but they are already very influenced by Thailand. So all the young people that we follow the Thai soap operas. Everybody watches the Thai television. But it's I would say it could be worth a try. Yes, it could be worth a try because it is getting more and more developed, but at its own pace.
Sure. Oh, interesting. Thanks. I mean, I'm sure I hear a lot of discussion about the potential of entering Laos. So I'm sure a lot of companies are interested in doing it. When did you first come to Cambodia?
The 1st of February 2006.
And what brought you here?
My job, actually. So I was in Laos working in market research, and then I was offered a job by Notin Research here to come here as the research director at that time.
Same company?
No, it was not the same company, but the company I used to work for in Laos, we were doing business with Indochina Research here.
Okay. So, what were your first impressions of Cambodia?
The first time...
I mean, it sort of was... Laos was a little bit more underdeveloped, so hopefully it was sort of seen as a little bit of a step up from for a cosmopolitan city. Definitely.
The first time I came here, I thought it was New York, and I've been to New York, so I know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm from New York, and I never had that impression.
It was just amazing.
Not even a small part.
No, I understand, but coming from Laos, it was just amazing. Everything was so fast, so much developed. And I was like, wow, it's going to be a change, and this is exactly what it was, a big change. It
is. It's an extraordinary change. And you joined Indochina Research in 2006, and you've stayed there quite long, so 2014. Years, tell us a little bit about it. I was always impressed with the company because there is a lack of data in this market. And I think statistical data is something a lot of companies want to know about. And you guys were the place to go. I mean, we're going to have a guest on in 2 weeks from another company now that is doing quite well in doing market research. But you guys were sort of in the forefront of this. So tell us a bit what Indochina Research does.
It's a market research agency, just collecting data from people, basically asking them why they like to drink this or that brand, to also work for private companies, also working with the international organization, development agencies. And the core business is to collect data to help companies make decisions.
Right, and I guess the benchmark globally is a company called Nielsen's, right?
The biggest one, it's in Nielsen, and number 2 is TNS.
Right.
Kantar,
and in these guys, I mean, they do it primarily for like media, right? Because you want to know what people are watching or listening to.
Yes, media data. It's really important. Yes, but not only. You want to know about how your people behave in their everyday life. You want to know about the purchase habits.
Right.
When do they buy? What do they buy? What time do they buy? How much do they buy? Etc.
Now, this is interesting because I know this is very important in the developed world, that you really want to understand consumer habits. But are Cambodian companies really interested in their consumers, their behavior? Yes
and no. Yes and no. I would say they start, especially with the development of digital and Facebook, they start understanding that they need to know better and better the Cambodian consumers. But a lot of local companies, I would say, do not trust data. They think because they are Cambodians, they know the market better. They already know the market, and they know better, and they don't need the data.
And I think there's be a further divide because there's certainly Phnom Penh, which is the city, and a little bit more sophisticated. I guess we've all been out to the provinces and seen there's a very different behavior out in the provinces, and we're still 70-something% rural here.
Yes.
So and actually the per capita is so low in the provinces still. So how do you get a well-rounded, if you're a beer company, for instance, because you're selling beer everywhere, because beer is obviously very popular in the provinces. and they're very popular here. So how do you get it well-rounded if you're a brand that, because there is this, people buy different brands in the provinces than they do in. So do you? And I imagine this is very much getting out on the ground and talking to people. So you got to send an army of people out, I guess.
Yes. When we were doing a research nationwide, we had teams. I remember we had teams in 6 or 7 provinces, and they would from one province as the provincial headquarters, they would go around in other province, go on the field. Sometimes they would spend one day just to do 5 interviews.
Wow.
Yeah, and they would go when I was loving one thing that I miss now is going to the province with them, following the team, because this is where we could really experience people's everyday life, and we were very much welcome at home. We were entering people's house and just to do interviews. It was amazing.
Yeah, the province is a pretty laid back spot.
Yes.
I've been so many times. I mean, people generally. I mean, it's very agricultural, so it's they get their busy time during planting season, harvesting season, but it's pretty relaxed otherwise. I mean, it's almost a half retirement life. So I guess they'd have some time on their hands to answer those questions. But what was interesting in those years, those effectively 8 years? What were the interesting statistics that you found in Cambodia?
Oh, many. We did so many research, but I think I've always liked media data, and something that is still the case in Cambodia is the importance of television. Television is universal in Cambodia. Still, you got 95% of.
I mean, radio was not as important.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
sorry to hear that.
But radio is really underestimated, and it has always been, and is still underestimated. And I believe this is because it's the radio market is very clustered, and there's not a lot of nationwide radio.
So TV is
number one by far.
This is I'm sorry for those that do print. So we need to ask you about this. And you guys are sort of in print as well, right? With the Southeast Asia Globe. How important is that daily newspaper? Whether it's English-speaking Phnom Penh Post, Khmer Times, or Ko Santa Peep. Yeah. How important are these newspapers? Don't worry if you insult. You're not insulting anybody.
No. It's if you look at the data, the newspapers will now come in, if I remember well, in 4th position. So you would have TV number 1, radio number 2, internet, and then the newspaper.
And that's internet still number 3.
Internet is still number 3 from the data I have. I don't have.
This is from 2014 latest.
No, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
And TV, I guess, also would be hard to get your message across because it's got 100 channels or something. So when you say it's important, how do you target?
Yes. So TV now in Cambodia, you have 21 channels, plus all the channels that you have on the satellite or by cable. It is the number 1 media, but the problem is what we don't know is are people actually watching TV? If you go in people's home, you will see television that is on, but they're not watching it. They do something else. The other thing is there are trends of advertising now at peak hours, which are on the evening. But we know also that a lot of people switch channels during the advertising.
Right. So I mean, you say TVC is number 1, right? Yeah. But TV is number 1, but if you have 80 channels, then it's so dispersed.
It is
the audience that it's very hard to. I mean, you're always looking for reach. This keyword being reach, right?
Yes.
So, like a newspaper, if somebody's seeing it every day, then you're getting that reach effectively, right?
Yes, but if nobody reads you, you're not getting reach, which is one of the issue here.
So to jump ahead of sort of a little bit on because you're obviously one of the top advertising agency firms in the market. When you're putting together your advertising campaigns and you want to get that reach, I mean, what do you recommend to clients? So let's say it's a brand. We won't specifically say any toothpaste, but you want to really get out to the consumer. How do you reach the consumer?
Well, it really depends. Every client is unique. Every strategy, communication strategy is unique. Because what we're here to help, solve problems for the client. So it's really much what the first thing we do is really much about understanding what they want to achieve. What are their objectives, and from that we will set up the appropriate communication strategy. Doesn't matter, it can be on television, it can be on radio, it can be on the
you
internet.
have to probably hit all the points. The internet is relatively cheap to hit, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's people think it is cheap, or sometimes they still believe it is free. It's not free anymore.
No, it's not free by any means.
But it can be, it's. I wouldn't look at it in a way cheap or expensive. I would look at it in the sense, what's the client budget, and how much are they ready to spend to get the objectives they want, and our job is to maximize the return on investment.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump in a minute to the advertising part, but I want to finish up on the data. So really interesting, you talked about media. What other interesting statistics did you, in your 8 years at Indochina Research, that you found, wow, this is amazing about Cambodia?
It's difficult to answer, but one thing I always remember is when we were asking questions to people, satisfaction questions. We were asking them, "Are you satisfied? Or do you like what you see right now?" They would always say yes, because
it's not what I see in the banks when I have to wait an hour to make a withdrawal. I mean, for me, one of the biggest issues here. In some sectors, I would say, for instance, in the restaurant sector, I'm pretty happy when I go to a restaurant. I think the service is generally quite good. But there are some sectors that are horrendous, and I'm sorry to say, banks.
I agree. But this is the Cambodian culture. This is the face. So you say yes because you are being polite. And in the research, this is what we were.
Did you do work with banks? Because this is my pet peeve. Okay, I can never understand in Cambodia that if you need to go in and either deposit money, because you have a check, because people still using checks here, right, to pay you in your businesses instead of transferring money, which is quite simple. That you have to wait an hour to deposit. I mean, some of the banks, ABA, which is one of our advertisers. Good deal, because now they put a machine where you could do deposits. You don't have to wait online. So I could put cash in, I get a receipt, I'm pretty happy. That's great. I mean, ABA, congratulations. But I got to tell you, when I'm a businessman and we got to wait an hour to deposit a check, give the bank money. What's the deal? These people still satisfied with this?
I don't know. I've been out of the research industry for 2 years, but we did some work for the bank. Yes, and what's the difference between a bank and a bank? It's a service, and I think over the past years, the Cambodian consumers have been educated about banking, and now they're expecting more and more service.
Sure, I mean everything really should with the sort of Wing and SmartLoy and whatever This stuff should be electronic. It should be almost cashless society soon. But banks, for still some reason, think that you have all the time in the day to sit there for an hour and a half. And I think those guys need to get it right. I've seen a great increase in the telecom industry on service, which is very positive. What were the sort of sectors that people weren't happy with?
Not happy with. I think it was more global in terms of. What we saw in the research is it's the development of service overall, customer service overall, and what was interesting is to see the development of the consumers learning about customer service, and once they learn about it, they were able to claim more or to request more and better service.
Okay, we're going to jump now, and thanks for all that incredible, insightful information. Let's jump onto brains, because 8 years with Indochina must have been a big decision to move over to, but it's not hard to go work for Tetsileo, that's for sure.
So no, it was a big decision, but it was time. It was time for me to make a change. 14 years of market research. I was a bit fed up. I had enough. I had the impression to circle around all the time. So I needed something fresh.
Right. So what does Brains do?
So we are a full advertising agency. So we do brand identity, brand development, ATL, BTL advertising, events. We do quite a lot of events actually.
How important are events? Because we hear this this term digital marketing agencies, which seem to be riding a wave where digital being very important, but they're less focused on ground activation and.
Oh, in Cambodia, they are crucial. I still believe that the best way to reach people is to do what we call activation, so that if people don't go to you, you go to them.
So it's very important.
Yes,
still.
yes, still very important.
And in-store promotions are still very important.
In-store promotions, POSM are very important because when you're working on a full marketing strategy, say you're on television, you got your TVC. So with the TV commercial, you will get your awareness. But on the ground, you need your brand to be resonating all the time in people's mind. And one of the way you can do that is through activation or through POSM materials.
All right, so there's no secret that I have a couple advertising companies as well.
Yeah.
I find this to be a very competitive industry. It seems Cambodia is becoming an attractive place for advertising companies to jump in, and I'm sure we're going to have some big internationals come soon. Are you finding this to be a very competitive market?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely competitive. It's actually I've been here for 2 years. I've been doing working with it for brands for 2 years, and in 2 years, every week I would say there's a new advertising agency I hear about. And so that's
also there's organic growth, right? Because there was a lot of companies not using agencies. They just thought it was not in their interest to do it. But now it's being embraced. But I think one of the problems is the margins also. I mean, it's Cambodian companies tend to pay less for this type of business.
Yes, well, I mean, it's something. I think service in general. We're in the service industry. I think service in general, Cambodian companies do not fully understand what are the benefits of using a service provider. But yes, the market is still very price volatile. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about an interesting brief that you worked on.
I can't mention any brief, but I think the most interesting brief we can receive is when a client comes to us and say, "Hey, I have this problem. This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve, and please come up with a concept and then execute it." When we work on those type of communication strategy, when you start by understanding the problem, coming up with a concept, and executing your concept, and then you see the result of what you have created, that's the best type of business.
I think I find this, in our businesses as well. I mean, to me, it's all about what's going to be the game changer. I'm selling toothpaste. I have 3% market share. I've had 2% market share. Now I have 3%. I really want to be getting 10% market share. I'm competing against these brands. What's my game changer? Do people come with that sort of, or they just basically say, "Can you get me on digital and Facebook," and think that's all going to work? Or or are they asking you for the game changer? Because for me, being in this business, the most important thing is to be able to deliver a game changer.
Yes. No, I would say the big companies. Yes, that's because they are used to use advertising. They know the power of advertising. Local companies.
Just to interrupt you. Sorry, the advertising is one thing. Strategy.
Yes.
Do they come and say, "I really want a strategy"? It's not just to get me out there and to be, part of the party, but actually I want to stand out from the party.
We still have to educate people on a strategy. What is people? Yes, it's true that people tend to come to us and say, "Hey, I want to be on television. Can you do a TVC for me?" And our first question will be like, "Why? Why do you want to be on television? Why do you want to have your TVC on television? What are you expecting?" So really trying to get them back onto the strategy.
All right, I'm going to shoot you 3 quick questions.
Right.
We did a new. I'm going to give you 4 questions, I think. So we're doing a new thing. We want to know. We're doing some market research.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
Matrix.
Okay, and what's your favorite book?
I don't have favorite book. I read a lot. I don't have any favorite book. Sorry.
Okay. What is the difference? What would you say is the competitive advantage of Brains over the rest of the industry?
I would say 3 things. Eyes for details. This is what the company was created because we were seeing so many missing details, like English typos all the time. So that would be one. Number 2, I would say it's the creativity. We really want to focus on creativity because creativity can be the game changer for any advertising company. And number 3, the spirit. Because we are in a people business, we have to deal with the people all the time, our clients, our staff, and the spirit is very, very important.
You guys definitely you got a great team.
Yes.
Kudos. Cecilio just opened up a new restaurant, right?
He opened up a microbrewery,
Right.
which I recommend you should.
What is the
try.
name?
Hops.
And where is it?
It's what is it? A corner of Street 51 and 224, I believe.
And it's great. Roman is shaking his head. He says it's great. All right, that's great.
Well, they have a fantastic advertising agency doing all the creative.
All right, what is the future of the advertising industry?
Here in Cambodia?
Yep.
Oh, it's just gonna grow. It's gonna be for the moment. It's very much still traditional. I believe it's gonna go more and more digital.
And get more sophisticated.
It's gonna get more sophisticated, definitely.
Okay, final question. What do you love about Cambodia, and what would you like to see improved?
Oh, Cambodia. What I've always loved about Cambodia is the energy that is in the air. You don't know what it is, but it's there. It's always been there, and it's this is what drives me in the morning. And what I would like to see improve, I think, is the education system. Okay. I think there's a big issue with education in this country, unfortunately.
Right. We're gonna have you back, Laurent, because what I want to do, I guess, maybe in a couple of months, we'll have an advertising panel.
Okay.
We like these panel discussions because it was a fantastic discussion. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Roman Grosjean.
You can't watch TV driving a car. You can't read a newspaper driving a car. About the only thing you can do in a car is listen to the radio. Research proves that car radio regularly reaches consumers within 2 hours of their largest purchase of the day. There's no better time to reach customers than on their car radio, while they're driving to your store, bar, restaurant, or place of business. Radio sells with immediacy. To advertise with Radio 1, contact our sales department at 023 432418. That's 023 432418. Or email info@radio1cambodia.com. Remember, radio advertising works only on Radio 1 FM 103.7. Welcome to Cambodia Business Week with your host Anthony Galliano here on Radio 1 FM 103.7.
We're back. It's 36 minutes after the hour. I had to get that one right. What a fascinating conversation with Laurent. Fantastic. We'll invite him back, and we'll put some of the big advertising agencies all together and get a good market research insights into them. But now we're going to switch over to a completely different business, different industry. We're really pleased to welcome Roman Grosjean. Is my French pronunciation
it's
close?
Yeah, not really.
Not really? You could have corrected me like the last 6 months.
That's fine. I'm really used to it by now. It's Roman Grosjean. Yeah.
Okay. How do you say? Roman?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, welcome, and thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about Jebsen and Jessen today,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
So, can you first tell us a little bit about yourself? Today I know is French Day, so you're from France as well. So, can you tell us where you were originally from and what schools you attended?
Sure. I was born in Paris. I went then on to various expatriations. I started with Indonesia, went back to France, then went to Scotland, went back to France, then went to Argentina, and came back to France to do my superior studies. So I went to one university, did a master's in finance there, then went on to a business school in Paris called ESCP, and I did international business and projects development there.
So extremely well educated and extremely international at a really early age.
Yes.
So big things were going to happen, right? So when did you when did you actually start working? What was your first job?
My first job is actually, if you take out all the internships and whatnot, my first job is actually here.
In Cambodia.
Correct.
Because you spent time in Borneo and Brunei, right? Doing some work.
I did, yeah. I did. My father was working there at the time, and I did a couple of internships there, but not any real job. Yeah.
Okay, so you did internships at very exotic places.
I've been lucky, like I said.
Right. So what did you do in Borneo? I mean, that's a pretty interesting place to do an internship. What were you doing there?
So I was in Brunei, which is really on the Malaysian side of Borneo, between Sabah and Sarawak. I was working at the time for the Brunei Economic Development Board. Brunei is a country that has about 99% of its GDP coming from oil and gas extraction and sales, and they were looking at what they could do on top of that, or use that money, use those proceedings to develop other areas of the economy, and the BEDB was tasked to do that. So it was really an interesting time. Some crazy projects flying around. I still have a lot of interest watching what they are still doing at the time, but Brunei has changed a lot.
Right. So you started out, if I remember correctly, in finance and banking and investments.
Correct.
Which, like myself, started out. I was a banker for 27 years, but it didn't seem to be something you wanted to do, right?
No, I mean, the internships I had in banks were interesting. I was lucky to be I was lucky to be there at two interesting times. The first time I was with Fortis Investments, and that was during the 2008 Lehman Brothers Chapter 11 filing. I remember customers, clients, going batshit crazy, and us having to write some reports to try to calm them down a little. And then the second internship that I did was a bit longer. It was about a year, and I was with Crédit Agricole Asset Management. And there,
what a time to be with an asset management company.
Yeah, exactly. That was a subprime crisis, and it was quite an interesting time as well. I was on a monetary market, and I remember one of my colleague on the high yield bonds. Her market was closed, and she was playing puzzle bubble for months on end.
Well, I know I was in Asia during the time of the subprime crisis, and we were glued to the screen. Obviously, anybody that's in business, what was happening in the U.S. What were the effects in Europe? I mean, this was definitely a U.S.-created crisis, a financial crisis that spread globally. What were the sort of thoughts in France about this crisis created through this breakdown, I guess, of really regulatory breakdown in the United States?
There was quite a bit of anger, to be honest, because France has never been a country that contracted a lot of debt. As a country, we do contract debt, but French people traditionally are very conservative. So we really didn't understand this practice to really go and have and contract, a lot of credits and try to buy large houses, and this we really didn't understand. Then the fact that it spread to us was also quite tough. French banks were not too exposed, but of course the MBS and all this these tranches and all all these products that contain some of that spread everywhere. So everybody had some of it at some point.
So it was good to get out of that industry, and you decided to do something else.
Well, the environment was actually really interesting, but the reason why I didn't want to do that is because I saw people coming at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 5, and having pretty much, which is not what you expect usually from a banking sector, but in asset management, that's what happened. And pretty much what they were doing in a typical day is meet with their investment team, do 2 or 3 portfolio reshuffling, and that was it.
Sounds pretty easy.
Yeah, it's really actually.
And get paid well too, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the monetary market. Okay, things don't change too much, and I'm sure the equity market.
It hasn't changed. Look where we are again. So, do you think? I mean, are you surprised that we're at record highs in markets again, and people just forgot about? It's only been 6 or 7 years, and we're right back to these bubbles again in markets.
Yeah, but things have not been really changing, regulatory speaking. I mean, there has.
There's a lot of talk about changes.
There's a lot of talk about changes, but when you look at what's really being done on the ground, there's nothing.
Nothing. All right. Well, let's talk about your Cambodia. Mm-hmm. Coming to Cambodia, you arrived when?
I arrived. The first time I visited was February 2012. And then I relocated to Cambodia in May 2012.
Tell us about Jebsen and Jessen. Sorry, I say Jebsen and Jessen.
Correct. So Jebsen and Jessen is really a difficult company, I would say, to really describe in I would say.
Where's it originated from? What country?
So it's a Danish company.
Right.
Two cousins, the Jebsen family and the Jessen family, had a shipping line. So they were shipping products from Denmark to Hong Kong. And in 1895, so 120 years ago, they decided to open shop in Hong Kong and start distributing product.
Pretty smart.
Pretty smart at the time, and we've really been developing from then on, following this I would say this business acumen, that we have products in Europe that Asia could benefit from.
Okay, and what are the product lines of Jebsen and Jessen?
So we have quite a few. We have ingredients, which has two main businesses. I would say hard chemicals, and then a more life sciences part, which is all food, feed, pharmaceuticals. We have cable technologies, which is all about data cable, fire-resistant cable, all those specialty cables, not the high voltage cable that you see for power transmission, but more cables that you don't see, that are in your buildings or in factory automation, for example. Then we have material handling equipment. That is overhead traveling cranes, gondola systems. We did, for example, the Marina Bay Sands systems to clean the windows. We've done the Petronas Towers in Malaysia. We're doing pretty soon the Naga World, the new extension of Naga World. We've done the Cleater Bank. Then we have technology, which is a bit of a mix and match of different businesses. We have turf and irrigation. We're quite strong here with turf and irrigation. We've done quite a few of the golf courses here. We have biomass power plants, a lot of different.
So how big is the business in Cambodia?
The business in Cambodia, I mean, this is really the beauty of Jebsen and Jessen, is you have so many potential areas that you can focus on, because I've just talked about 4 right now, but we also have packaging. We have JJ Lurgi, which is a joint venture with Lurgi, part of Air Liquide, to do process engineering for oil extraction and biodiesels. And it is really a wealth of businesses that you can do. And the approach really is to take it, when we enter a new country, the approach is to take it as entrepreneurs. So we try to look first at the market. What are the main drivers of growth, and then we look back into our portfolio. What do we have, and we replicate that. So in Cambodia, we are quite strong in agriculture, because it's mostly an agro country. In construction, we have a few product lines, like the gondola system I was telling you about, the overhead traveling cranes, and all these material handling equipment. But apart from that, when you look at Cambodia, the other major part of the industry is still rather, I would say, low tech. It's garment factories, and it's mostly what we call CMT, cut, make, and trim.
So machinery.
Sorry?
Machinery.
No, garment factories, cut, make, and trim is mostly you get your fabric, you cut it, you sew it, and then you trim it. So there is no. Where we would come in that particular business is with dyeing chemicals or
ingredients,
with
ingredients
softeners and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no market for that currently here.
Okay, what's your best seller in Cambodia?
Definitely agro. We're exclusive distributors for Bayer crop protection products and animal health. Definitely crop protection is currently a good
What
market.
product are you excited about that you think can be really a big hit in Cambodia, that you think that you have, that you probably will be selling more? A big hit to come.
Well, big hit to come. It's more centered around agriculture again, because this is really a big portion of the market. The other reason why agriculture is interesting for us is because the Ministry of Agriculture provides a fair and a level playing field for everybody. You register your products with them, and then you have access to 0% duties and 0% VAT, which is a major plus, because in all our other businesses you have a lot of border trade and they don't really tend to pay. But what I'm really looking forward to is expanding our product range. So we're going from crop protection. We want to go into fertilizer and added services. Providing the farmers with crop programs, telling them how they can farm better, how they can farm cheaper, how they can get more yield and get some extra income out of agriculture.
And I think I'm glad to hear that, but I think to some extent, I mean, not to be critical here, but the agriculture industry hasn't really lived up to its expectations, because we have great. We're a very fertile country, right? I mean, it's should be producing a lot more seasonally, especially, right?
Yeah, I mean, the agriculture in Cambodia has many different challenges. Things are really improving lately, and it has been only a couple of months, I would say. There has been some reshuffling in the ministries. There has been some private sector initiative with the Cambodian Rice Federation that have been really pulling things together at last. But there are many challenges.
It's become the bottom sector, which is unfortunate. I mean, we have our garment sector, we have the construction industry, which has now become number 2, tourism number 3, and agriculture just sort of is falling off. It should be one of the top 2.
It should be. I mean, the interesting thing about agriculture is it's always going to be there. People will always eat, whereas construction can boom.
Sure,
and bust.
I mean, we all know we're really
bust
concerned
cycles.
about that, right?
Agriculture, you're prone to cycles of bad weather and whatnot, and we're having them right now. But it's been proven to be quite resilient compared to others, I would say. And it's not a good time right now because construction is really booming. I mean, you see signs of things changing, but agriculture is suffering from the weather. But really, it's a difficult market because you have 2 giants next to you, right? You have Thailand and you have Vietnam. Their agriculture is much more developed, much more mechanized, and you have a competition.
But Cambodia can get there, right?
Cambodia can get there if it gets support, and this is where things are a little bit changing.
Because it's still like mostly individual farmers, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's compared to a country. Okay, I'm not a huge expert on agro. I've been learning as I go along, but compared to, for example, Vietnam, I would say Cambodia has more concentrated land ownership. So, for example, I think you have more. The average land owning here is about, the average parcel is about 1 hectare plus. In Vietnam, it tends to be less than a hectare.
Okay.
Yields are different, but the idea is that with all these ELCs and everything, Cambodia has an opportunity to drive mechanization. Small land parcels, are usually a hindrance for mechanization because you have to have a small machine for that particular parcel. But large land ownership structures are favorable for yield increases. But then you need a lot
of scale, right?
Sorry,
economies of scale.
Exactly. But you really need a lot of tech support, and that's where we want to come.
Well, we hope you can. What's the future for Jebsen and Jessen here in Cambodia?
Well, we're definitely here to stay. I mean, this is a Jebsen and Jessen motto. We say that we speak the language of Southeast Asia. When we come into a country, we don't leave. We've been in Southeast Asia since 1963. The company has split into 2, from origins in Hong Kong. One stayed in Hong Kong and Greater China doing luxury goods, and now we do Jebsen just in Southeast Asia is focusing on ASEAN, and we're in all countries except Laos, which I'm taking care of from a distance. But when we go into a country, we're here to stay, and that's what we bring to the table, really, to our customers.
Okay. Last question. We got to ask you. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie, hard. No, I would say when I was a kid, I watched, I think, The Fifth Element, 27 times or something. I had a huge crush on Mila Jovovich at the time.
Okay. That's what Bruce Willis in that movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's your favorite book?
Favorite book? I'm not really into fiction. Currently, I'm reading Henry Kissinger. Really wanted to understand. Well, the biography.
I'm sure Cambodians feel really happy about that.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly where I'm reading it. I wanted to understand how. I mean, he seems like an intelligent person.
There's no doubt about that.
But yeah, I mean, how did this all happen?
Well, he had some good partners in Richard Nixon. Anyway, let's not talk about the dead. What do you love about Cambodia? What would you like to see improved?
What I really like here is the warmth that people have for foreigners, which I don't see a lot in other countries. I mean, comparing to Brunei, for example, foreigners are welcome, but it's not like you're not embraced. Here, it's a lot easier. What I would like to see improve, and here I will say a little bit the same as Laurent did just now, is education, because we hire a lot of young guys for agriculture. Going around the province, we try to cover the whole market, and we have to train them pretty much from the ground up most of the time.
Okay, so there's one last thing. So you've been patient with a typical American that can't pronounce a French name. So how do I pronounce your last name?
Grosjean.
Grosjean.
Yeah.
You know what?
That was good.
I lived in Belgium, and I started taking one French lesson. Everything seemed to be silent letters, so I gave up pretty quick. But thank you for letting me coming on the show, and thank you for a great, insightful conversation. We have one last guest, so we're going to have 5 minutes with, and we'll be right back.
Radio is the only truly mobile medium. In the car, at work, and at play, radio is there. The companion and the advertising force your customers take with them wherever they go. To advertise with Radio 1, contact our sales department at 023 432418. That's 023 432418. Or email info@radio1cambodia.com. Remember, radio advertising works only on Radio 1 FM 103.7. Welcome to Cambodia Business Week with your host Anthony Galliano here on Radio 1 FM 103.7.
Well, we have a surprise end guest, Ken Bradley. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Ken Bradley is the Director for Business Development for Kamworks Utility. I'm going to let you talk because we have 5 minutes literally left, and I want you to get your 5 minutes in. So
Great.
Tell us about you and your company.
Well, I've been working in the energy sector for about 15 years. Started working in the nonprofit world, really helping with putting policies and programs together, primarily at the state level, but some at the local and federal level as well. And then went into the business. From that, I helped put a lot of solar policy together in my own state of Minnesota, which is where I'm from. And then was one of the kind of pioneers there. Some companies started and people said, hey, why don't you come work for us? So I actually was the CEO of one company that was a startup, and then director of business development of a company that was actually out of Colorado, but started an office in my state. And
I feel so happy you have an American accent. Did I do the bad job with Roman, didn't I? Colorado. Okay. What brought you to Cambodia?
Well, actually, I came here on vacation for my 50th birthday to visit a longtime friend of mine I've known for 30 years who's lived in Asia in a variety of places and has bugged me to come visit him. And I always say, oh, it's a long ways. And but I said, well, I should do something different for my 50th.
Now, you got to give me a lesson here, because when I ask people from the States to come visit me, I say, I come to Cambodia. They say, are you nuts?
Yeah.
How did you convince? I mean, it's such a great, wonderful place.
It is.
It's, for me, it's paradise, but there's still this stigma, right?
Well, as I say, when I tell everybody when I decided I was going to move here, I said, I think my mom and many people I know, I said, I think they're only able to envision Cambodia and most of Southeast Asia still in a 1972, Vietnam War, Southeast Asia conflict. So they think, why would you go there? And you say, well, a lot's changed since then.
It's a much better lifestyle than you're having in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, what does your company do?
So I'm working for Kamworks Utility. Kamworks has been around for 10 years. Oldest, most experienced solar development company, mostly done rural projects, about 150 rural homes. They've done schools, hospitals, various different facilities. But Kamworks Utility is actually a partnership of these two Dutch engineers that started Kamworks.
Who are they? Do we know them?
You may know them. Arjun and Drone are the two. And they started the company, and they've created a partnership with a couple of mayor businessmen to create Kamworks Utility. And we're focused on doing commercial and utility scale solar. And big reason I came here was I looked at my buddy's utility bill because he was complaining about it. Huh. And I was developing solar in Minnesota, and I said, wow, they're paying twice as much for electricity in a state in a country where the sun is better. Costs are going to be much less. Why aren't people developing commercial solar here? So I started talking with the founders of Kamworks, and they said we're putting this entity together to focus on both the commercial utility scale side of solar, and we're doing some residential as well, but most of that is in the original Kamworks. And
so what's your target market here?
Our target market is our best clients, because some policy pieces are not in place in Cambodia right now. They don't have a net metering policy, which is in many places in the world, which actually I'm proud of, was first passed in the state of Minnesota in 1982. And they don't have any other mechanism to buy back electricity. So our best customers are really 7-day-a-week energy users. So we install a system for them. We're going to be able to reduce their prices. We're going to, whatever they're paying EDC, I guarantee that we can charge them less than that.
So are you installing and charging as if you're a utility?
Well, there's two ways. It depends on their size and as well as their credit and financial stability. Certain customers, they're going to pay for the whole system in advance, but we are doing what's called basically a power purchase agreement. It's really no different than paying an electricity bill every single month, but instead of paying 19 cents or 17 cents, they're going to pay less with the contract.
So this could be interesting. So if I'm getting it right, you would actually have the capital cost of building.
Correct.
And then you become a utility, and then they buy electricity from you.
Yep. We go out and finance it, and then we build those projects. And we have a variety of clients we work with right now that we're in the contract pieces, putting everything together. But
you own the utility itself, not the client.
No, we own it. Yeah, we own the system, and essentially and we have a lease agreement for their roof, and they're paying us for electricity, and we're charging them less than what they would.
That sounds like a fantastic arrangement.
Yeah.
And how? I mean, is it economically viable? Because it's the capital costs of putting up a solar utility plant is quite a lot, right?
Well, it varies. I mean, obviously the client either has to be on the roof or land, one of the two. So some roofs are not going to work here in Cambodia. Others will, but if they have land, it can work. It's very viable in the sense that you'd think it costs a lot, but I will tell you it's significantly less than what it costs in Minnesota. Because I was developing projects in Minnesota, and it's cheaper to develop them here than it is there.
And it's helped by the solar panels just dropped in price like crazy and can become more efficient, correct?
Well, solar right now is cheaper than almost all resources, which is shocking. The price has been dropping. It's the fastest growing sector in the entire world. And I will tell you that the prices where they are today and the amount of solar that's developed today, if you'd have told people that 3.5, 4 years ago, they would have said you're crazy. So in the world, it's really blowing up. The industry is growing.
So why is Cambodia then building a coal-fired plant, which is the worst, right? Coal being the worst.
I spent most of my career really trying to, in the United States, where I started, 70% of our power came from coal. That's what everybody burned. Today, 15 years later, only about 35% of my state is coal. And more wind, more solar is being added. So that's part of why I came here, is that the reality is climate change is the issue I'm passionate about. I have a 25-year-old son. 20 years ago, I started working on this because I said I want to do something that's important related to my son, what can impact his life. And the reality is we haven't done enough as a planet to impact that issue. Coal plants are the last thing we should be building anywhere in the world.
And I really hope it is a dynamic change that's happening in the world to go to renewable. I think we have to give the world credit for that. We're seeing it with China. We're seeing it with
China's doing tremendous work.
Right. So we hope maybe we're a little late. Hope not too late. So what would you in our closing seconds here, why would people call you to get off the grid and to put up this solar powered plant in their business?
Well, very simply, we're going to save them money right off the bat. They're going to pay less than they're currently paying for energy now.
Do they have to finance it all?
Again, it depends on the customer and their credit and financial stability. Certain customers will have to pay in advance, but a good customer with a good financial line of credit and all of that, we can get a power purchase agreement, and with that agreement, they just pay us a monthly fee.
Where do we find you?
Go to www.kamworks.com, and you can go to our website there. My direct number is 017-880-803, and people are more than welcome to call me directly.
All right, Ken, thanks a lot. Your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption.
Great movie. And your favorite book?
River Runs Through It, was also a movie.
All right. And last question, you love about Cambodia and like to see improved?
Well, I actually love the people. I actually think people are very, very friendly here, and I think that the people of Cambodia are awesome. It's part of the reason I came here, and every day I see people's smiles on their faces, and I like going to work. What I'd like to see improved, I would like to see the country to be electrified and to use clean energy to do that.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week on Cambodia Business Week. Right?
We speak to the movers and shakers of the business world. So when it comes to business in Cambodia, look no further than the Cambodia Business Week on Radio 1 FM 103.7.